Steelers go to Philadelphia and play the Eagles. Eagles are -5 right here in this spot at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Totals around 47.5. 42.5, I believe. A little high for that number. Model has it as 17-22 in favor of the Eagles, so right around the Vegas spread as well. So nothing to really take away from there. BJ, we're kind of in the same boat here. You do have the Eagles winning. I have the Steelers winning with one conditional. The status of George Pickens is really going to, sway my thought process here either way. Or if they can get Mike Williams, ramped up in this offense and get going. Obviously, Pickens, still ambiguous with his status. He's got a hamstring injury. They're still evaluating it, and if he'll be ready heading into this game, and is as chaotic of a player as he can be, he's so extremely important to that offense and Russell Wilson in the passing game. So a lot hinging there. But first of all, we just there's a couple narratives to this game before we even get into the numbers. So first of all, AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts apparently have this beef going on. We saw Brandon Graham take it to the podcast talking about how they, were friends. Now they're not, and it's strictly professional. Probably something that should have stayed in-house, if we're being totally honest. But so it seems to be some underlying drama. Eagles passing game obviously isn't performing up to par. And I think AJ Brown's been a bit vocal about it. Rushing game, no problem. Saquon's having a career year, setting all sorts of franchise records for the Eagles. Totally fine there. But the passing game is struggling a little bit. So that's something that we'll be monitoring and watching. Interesting note, AJ Brown was bitching about not getting the ball in 2022 around the same time. He had a career game against the Steelers with 3 total touchdowns in a same spot. So just dropping some facts there. But as for the Steelers, they're still fighting to stay atop of the division. They're still coming in here to try and knock off the Eagles. But are you worried about the narrative at all with A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts? Are you still confident that Eagles can handle business at home? I mean, that might play more of a role than we even know.
Yeah, I think the reason the pass game has been less efficient, right? And I can understand, because I was watching some videos on Twitter of A.J. Brown being open in the middle of the field. I can understand that, but they've been able to run the ball so great that they almost haven't had to throw the ball. So I kind of will understand it with that. I think it could be an issue, though, going forward. I mean, the Steelers have a great defense, and if they aren't able to run the ball real well, I mean, they could have some problems, unless on the flip side of the last time A.J. Brown was bitching that he comes out and has 1,000,000 yards and 7 touchdowns.
Yeah,
but
I mean, who knows?
We'll have to see. I like the Eagles to win at home. I do think it'll be really close. I know we're talking about the Tomlin underdog aspect. The Steelers have had a great season this year, and
the Tomlin underdog thing is not something to to just brush by. It's such a real thing. I mean, he is week in, week out. He overperforms in areas where he's expected to underperform, and sometimes he underperforms in areas when he's expected to overperform. And so that's just the nature of this team. So it's kind of like a immovable object against an unstoppable force when you talk about TJ Watt and Cam Hayward going directly at one of the best offensive lines in the NFL here. So that's going to be a pivotal thing for this game that it's going to hinge on is, how much pressure can the Steelers defensive line get against the Eagles passing game that's already kind of struggling. And so if they can succeed in that and cause a bit of a blunder in the backfield for Jalen Hurts, get him off tempo, I mean, it can be tough sledding for the Eagles. And so you can't just strictly be one-dimensional on the offensive side of the ball, no matter how good Saquon Barkley is playing. I mean, he's going torched earth on the ground. So if you look at the Philadelphia offense, I mean, they're 6th overall in rushing yards per game. Saquon's averaging like over 100 yards rushing game on the ground. So nearly 5 yards per carry. It's amazing what he's doing. But again, this league has shown that you can't be one-dimensional and still beat great teams. You can do it here and there, but you can't consistently be successful as a one-dimensional offense. So that'll be the narrative here. I'm not going to say that, one way or another. There's no way to know truly what's going on in the Eagles locker room. they're still a phenomenal team in the NFL. I mean, they're 11-2 for Christ's sake. So there's not much that you can say bad about this team, but it's just, is the drama going to get to them? Is the bitching and complaining about not getting the ball going to get to them? Or are they going to go out there, handle business, and, do what they need to do to win this football game? So I think they can, but I still like the Steelers to keep it close. Do you think this offense on the Steelers side of the ball can do well enough to keep it close?
That's a difficult
without George
question.
Pickens, especially
without George Pickens, that's a really difficult question. That'll have to be up to Mike Tomlin overperforming, because I'm not sure who they're going to get the ball to at that point. I mean, you can go Freiermuth over the middle of the field a couple times. The running game is not explosive. It's not bad, but it's not explosive. I don't know who they're going to throw the ball to otherwise. Unless they're going to have a career Mike Williams game. I don't know.
The good thing for the Steelers is that without Brandon Graham, their pass rush has declined a little bit. It's not horrible, but it's not what it used to be, especially to start off the year. So Russell Wilson still may have some time to let things develop as long as his offensive line holds up. So that's a matchup I'll be watching as well. Can the Eagles' defensive line generate pressure against Russell Wilson, or is he going to have to kind of get the ball out quick here? And so that's a big thing for that game as well. It's going to be ugly, but it's going to be a huge game for both teams. Yeah, I mean, the Eagles are still technically fighting for a 1 seed. I know Detroit's kind of got it in the bag, so they say, but they're really only 1 game behind if you look at it. So a couple mishaps with the Lions. They do play one of the best teams in the league this week, so they very well could lose that game. And the next thing you know, the Eagles, they win this game. Both teams are at 12-2. And there's no telling what happens. It's the NFL, So still a lot to play for both teams. And I think the Steelers also want to hold atop of their division as well. That's a tough division. So
we need to.
I like the Steelers to cover. I even potentially like them to win outright if they have Pickens all their weapons.
Yeah.
If Pickens is there, but if not, it could be tough sledding for that offense. And then I think the Eagles could definitely secure this win here, but it could be ugly given the nature and the drama of the offense as well. So.